Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be looking at a 1964 lecture by Neville Goddard called You Shall Be Gathered One by One.
Ooh, okay.
Really, really fascinating lecture that was packed with all kinds of really cool insights about the nature of reality and the power of imagination.
Right.
And all this from like a mystical perspective.
Okay.
So are you ready to jump in?
I'm ready.
All right.
Let's do it.
So to kind of start us off, like, what is Goddard even getting at with this whole idea of God being our imagination? Sounds pretty radical when you first hear it.
It is pretty radical, but it's definitely a very fascinating concept. And what he's really suggesting is that the creative force that we normally think of as this higher power is actually within each of us.
Oh, okay.
And he doesn't necessarily mean that we're literally conjuring up physical matter with our thoughts, but rather that our beliefs and perceptions shape our experience of reality.
Okay, so it's almost like instead of praying to an external God for something to change, we should be looking inward at our own beliefs and how those are affecting our reality.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, so that makes a lot of sense, but then that also makes me wonder, like, where does free will come in? If our reality is like a product of our imagination.
Right.
Then what does that mean for our choices and actions?
That's a great question, and it's something that I think is worth really pondering.
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of Goddard's philosophy.
Okay.
You see, he saw the Bible as a roadmap of consciousness.
Okay.
He believed that the stories and characters in the Bible represent different states of being that we all experience in our lives.
So the Bible is almost like
It's like a guidebook.
a guidebook.
Yeah, for navigating the different states of consciousness that we all go through.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and he uses a lot of examples from the Bible to illustrate his points.
Right, and one that I remember in particular was from 1 Kings 13 about a man of God who was sent to deliver a prophecy.
Yes.
But was given very specific instructions not to eat or drink anything while he was there.
And of course what happens?
He totally disobeys.
He disobeys. He can't resist.
He can't resist.
The temptation.
Yeah.
He ends up accepting food and water from this false prophet.
Right.
And suffers the consequences.
Yeah, so what is the deeper meaning behind this story, though? Like, what does the eating and drinking actually symbolize?
So for Goddard, accepting the beliefs and truths of a particular reality is like consuming its food and drink.
Oh, okay.
So the man of God was essentially swayed by the false prophet, bought into his reality, and then became trapped in its limitations.
So it's almost like he got stuck in a way of thinking that wasn't serving him anymore.
Exactly.
And just because he couldn't resist those, like, earthly temptations, it makes you wonder, like, do we all have those moments?
I think we all do.
Where we unknowingly kind of eat and drink beliefs that are actually holding us back.
I think that's a really great point, and I think Goddard would absolutely agree with you.
Okay.
He believed that being aware of our thoughts and beliefs is the first step towards breaking free from those limitations.
Okay.
And he actually shared a really interesting personal story about having a vision where he experienced this firsthand.
Oh, tell me more about that.
So he described entering this incredibly vivid vision where he encountered these two ladies who insisted that their reality was completely real, just like we perceive our world to be.
So he's basically saying there are other realities out there that feel just as solid and believable as our current one.
Exactly.
But he knew it was a vision, so he knew it would end.
Right. And this is where his concept of staying true to your inner vision comes into play.
Okay.
He knew that the origin of his vision was his own mind.
Right.
So he didn't buy into the beliefs of those ladies.
He didn't let their reality influence his.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's almost like he recognized the power of their beliefs to shape their experience.
Yeah.
But he chose not to participate in it.
Right.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And makes me think about another thing he mentioned.
Okay.
Which was this mysterious claim that some people who die don't have a clear cause of death.
Oh, right.
Because their consciousness got stuck in another reality.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It's a bold claim, and while we can't necessarily take it literally,
Right.
It does make you think about the power of belief and its potential impact on our experience even beyond this physical life.
Yeah.
But let's go back to how Goddard was able to kind of navigate these different realities.
Okay.
Because he mentions using his sense of touch as key.
Yeah, he described holding onto a pillar in the dream and using that feeling to wake up within the dream.
Yes.
And then using the feeling of a pillow to return to his physical body.
Right, so it's like grounding himself.
It's like grounding.
For physical sensation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah, and it actually relates to another biblical story that he brings up.
Okay.
The story of Jacob receiving Isaac's blessing.
Right.
Remember, Jacob, disguised as his brother Esau, used the sense of touch to deceive his blind father and receive a blessing intended for someone else.
So both Goddard and Jacob used their sense of touch, their feeling, to influence outcomes.
Exactly.
It's almost as if by intensely feeling something, they made it more real.
Right. And Goddard saw it as proof that feeling can shape reality.
Okay.
And he even suggested that this is how we can bring our desires into being.
Okay.
By feeling them as if they were already real.
So we're not just thinking it.
So we're not just thinking it.
We're inhabiting the feeling of it.
We're inhabiting the feeling, yeah.
Okay.
That's a great way to put it.
And this ties back to his idea of God being our imagination, doesn't it? It's not just about thinking positive thoughts.
Right.
But about embodying the feeling of what we want to create.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we're starting to get a better grasp of this concept.
Yeah.
But there's another really big idea that I want to dive into.
Okay.
Which is the idea of the one man.
Yes.
This felt like a major part of the lecture to me.
Absolutely.
So can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so this concept really reveals how deep Goddard's ideas go.
Okay.
He believed that humanity is not just a collection of separate individuals, but rather expressions of a single, interconnected being.
And this one man is
Jesus Christ.
The embodiment of universal consciousness.
Okay.
And when we awaken to our true nature, Goddard believed, we realize that we are all part of this one man.
So we're all connected.
Yes.
All part of this one divine being, all expressions of God.
That's right.
That's a pretty powerful concept.
It is.
Yeah.
And it connects beautifully with his emphasis on the power of imagination.
So if we can grasp this idea of interconnectedness, if we can feel it as deeply as we feel our own individual existence, what kind of reality could we create, not just for ourselves, but for everyone?
So we're not just imagining our own personal realities.
Right.
We're tapping into a collective power that shapes everyone's experience.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot to digest.
It is a lot to digest. And I think we'll need a little bit of time to let all this sink in.
Yeah, for sure.
But we'll be back soon to unpack even more of these amazing ideas.
Sounds good.
All right.
See you.
See you then.
Okay, so we just left off talking about the one man, this idea that we're all connected as expressions of a universal consciousness, which Goddard identifies as Jesus Christ. But if we're all part of this one man, this collective being, does that mean that we all have access to this incredible creative power?
That's exactly what Goddard suggests.
Okay.
He didn't believe that this power was limited to just a select few. He saw it as inherent potential within every human being.
Wow, that's really powerful.
It is.
But it also raises a lot of questions for me. Like, how do we actually tap into this power?
Right.
Does he give us any practical advice on how to do that?
Well, he doesn't lay out a strict step-by-step process, but he does emphasize the importance of feeling, of really embodying the state of the wish fulfilled.
Right, and he calls it feeling it in your imaginary hand.
Yes, exactly.
So it's like not just thinking about what you want, but actually feeling it as if it's already real.
Precisely. Yeah. It's about engaging all of your senses.
Okay.
Allowing yourself to really experience the emotions associated with having your desire fulfilled.
So you're not just thinking positive thoughts, you're shifting your entire state of being to align with your desire.
Exactly.
Is that why he stressed the importance of not getting caught up in external appearances?
Yes.
Like staying true to our own inner vision, even if the outside world seems to contradict it?
Exactly, because remember that analogy of the food and drink.
Right, from the story in First Kings.
From the story of First Kings.
Right.
Goddard believed that if we buy into the beliefs and limitations of others, if we accept their version of reality as our own, we risk losing sight of our true power.
And our own unique path.
And our own unique path, exactly.
So it's almost like we have to be discerning about what we allow to influence our thoughts and beliefs.
Yes.
We have to choose our own food and drink carefully.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
It's about cultivating a deep sense of inner knowing, a trust in our own intuition and guidance.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we are the ultimate authority in our own lives.
And that's why he emphasized personal experimentation, right?
Yes.
Like trying things out for ourselves, seeing what works.
Exactly.
And developing our own understanding of these principles.
Absolutely. He wasn't interested in blind faith or dogma. He wanted people to become their own spiritual scientists, to explore the power of their own minds through direct experience.
That's what I find so refreshing about his teachings.
Me too.
Yeah. It's less about adhering to a set of rules or doctrines.
Right.
And more about a practical approach to personal growth and self-discovery.
Yeah.
It seems like his goal was to help people awaken to their own potential.
I think so.
Both individually and collectively.
Absolutely.
And he also talked about the importance of sharing our experiences.
Yes, he did.
Even if they sound strange or unbelievable to others.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Well, he believed that those who had experienced this power of imagination had a responsibility to help others awaken to their own.
So it's not just about personal transformation.
No.
It's about raising the consciousness of humanity as a whole.
Exactly.
And speaking of spiritual evolution, there was one more intriguing concept that Goddard mentioned in this lecture that I wanted to touch on, which is the true resurrection.
Right. He hinted at it, but didn't fully explain what he meant.
Yeah. Do we know anything more about that?
Well, he described it as a profound shift in consciousness.
Okay.
A complete transformation of our being.
Okay.
And it goes beyond the physical resurrection that's often talked about.
Right, in traditional religion.
In traditional religion, exactly.
Did he elaborate on this idea anywhere else in his work?
He did.
Okay.
He went into much greater detail in some of his other lectures and writings.
Okay.
Particularly in his book titled Resurrection.
Oh, wow.
It's a fascinating exploration of the ultimate potential of human consciousness.
So it's like a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered.
It is.
By those who are ready to delve deeper into Goddard's teachings.
Yeah, I think we might even need a whole separate deep dive dedicated to that topic.
I agree, that would be fascinating.
Yeah.
But for now, let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And explore some of the practical implications of Goddard's ideas for everyday life.
Right.
How can we take these concepts and apply them to create positive change in our own lives and in the world around us?
Right. That's a great question.
All right. So I feel like we've explored some pretty mind-bending concepts from Neville Goddard.
Yeah.
This whole idea about the power of our imagination, that we're all part of this interconnected one man.
Right.
And even this possibility of a true resurrection that goes beyond the physical.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. But what does it all mean, like, practically speaking?
Yeah, that's a great question.
How do we actually apply these ideas to our lives?
I think that's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get caught up in the fascination of it all.
Right.
But Goddard wasn't just about theory.
Right. He wanted people
to experience it.
Yeah.
He wanted people to really experience the transformative power of these concepts.
So how do we bridge that gap between concept and experience? Like, what would he say is the most important takeaway for people who are just starting to explore his work?
I think he would encourage us to start by becoming more aware of our own thoughts and beliefs.
Okay.
He often talked about recognizing the power we have to shape our own reality, even if it's just our perception of reality.
That reminds me of what he said in the lecture about how the Bible isn't meant to be taken literally, but rather as a symbolic representation of different states of consciousness.
Yeah, like a guidebook for navigating those states.
It's like he's saying we're not just passive observers in some predetermined story. We're actually active participants in creating our own narrative.
Exactly.
That's powerful.
It is a powerful shifting perspective.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling like we're at the mercy of external forces, we can start to see ourselves as the authors of our own lives.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean we can control everything that happens.
No, of course not.
But it does mean that we have more agency than we might realize.
Right. We have more power than we think.
And he also talked about feeling, right?
Yes. Feeling is so important.
Really embodying the state of the wish fulfilled.
Absolutely.
That always felt like a key part of his teachings to me.
It is.
It's not just about positive thinking.
Right.
It's about truly feeling what it would be like.
Yes.
To have your desire manifested.
You talked about feeling it in your imaginary hand.
Right. Like engaging all of your senses, allowing yourself to fully experience those emotions associated with already having what you want.
Yeah, you're not just hoping for it.
You're living as if it's already yours.
You're living it.
Which makes me think of that story about the vision.
Oh, yeah, with the two ladies.
Yeah, he encountered those two ladies.
Right.
Who were so insistent that their reality was the only real one.
Yeah.
And he recognized that.
He saw it.
Their beliefs were shaping their experience.
Yeah.
But he didn't get caught up in their limitations.
He stayed true to his own vision.
Right. And that's so crucial.
It is.
It's about discerning what truly resonates with us, what aligns with our deepest desires and beliefs.
Yes.
And not letting ourselves get pulled off course.
Right. It's about not letting
by external influences.
The outside world dictate your reality.
It's about trusting our own intuition.
Exactly.
Our own inner guidance.
That inner compass.
And then he also emphasized that it's not enough to just keep these insights to ourselves.
Right.
He talked about the responsibility to share our experiences.
Yeah, to share what we've learned.
With others, to help them awaken.
To help them awaken to their own potential.
It's not just about personal transformation.
It's about a collective evolution of consciousness.
And that's where this idea of the one man comes in.
It does.
So beautifully. Because if we can start to see ourselves and each other as expressions of this universal consciousness, it changes everything.
It changes how we see the world.
It expands our compassion, our understanding of interconnectedness.
Absolutely.
And it changes our ability to collaborate and create a better world together.
It does. It allows us to tap into that collective power.
So it's like he's inviting us to participate in this grand experiment.
I think so.
To explore the power of our imagination. Not just for our own personal gain, but for the betterment of humanity as a whole.
Absolutely.
And while he acknowledged that it's not always easy,
of course not,
he also offered a message of hope and empowerment.
Right. He believed in us. He believed in our potential.
That we can awaken to our true nature.
Yes.
Become conscious creators of our own reality.
And contribute to a more beautiful and harmonious world.
Wow, that's a beautiful way to wrap up this deep dive.
It is.
Into Neville Goddard's work.
His work is truly inspiring.
It is. Thank you so much for guiding us through this exploration.
It was my pleasure.
It's been incredible.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And for all of you listening out there,
thank
you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.
And we'll see you next time, ready to explore more fascinating ideas.
And uncover more hidden truths.
Together.
Exactly.